Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Updog, friend of the pod. He was rocking the fella shirt on NHL the other night with our girl Jackie. We got talking about that.
Fresh out of a New York trip. We got to dive into that with him.
I know. Nick Alberga. I like to call him the Golden Muzzy, though. What's up, fella? How we doing?
G-Muzz for short, fellas. It's an absolute honor to be on with you. I've been waiting a while to rebuttal like Kevin Connolly. We'll get to that later on. But what's going on with you guys?
We're chilling, brother. The Golden Muzzy is one of the best handles in my opinion. How did it come?
I mean, it just hit us straight here. Golden Muzzy.
That's unreal.
I wish it was like a phenomenal story, but it really isn't. And I get asked this question quite a bit. But long story short, like 12 years ago in new media class, Roger Lajoie, who's like a legend in Toronto for radio broadcasting, was my teacher. He instructed us to maybe, look at making Twitter accounts. So I made one. It was Movember. For people who know me, I like to raise money in Movember for the Duster. So I was growing one. I used to hack darts religiously, boys, for like 10 years. So it came in a bit yellow. So I was like, how about the Golden Muzzy? Not thinking it would stick the way it has for 12 years, where it's like sort of been my brand and my personality, right? So that's the long of it. I wish I had a better answer for you, though.
I was thinking maybe it was like a trophy that one of your ex-girlfriends gave you or something. The Golden Muzzy. Like, hey,
the old Golden Muzzy
she's
ride.
Like,
you want to go for a Golden Muzzy ride?
I missed that Muzzy. I missed that Golden Muzzy.
It's a new sex position, right?
Hey, dude, you talk about your Twitter. You're great on Twitter. Did it come naturally for you? Because Updog's pretty good on Twitter himself. I'm not great at it. I try to work at it, but it seems like, we had Max Homa on last week after the President's Cup, and Max is unbelievable on Twitter. Did it come natural to you as well, or have you worked at it because you're great at it?
I appreciate that. Like it's one of those things when you get in broadcasting that they sort of tell you, like, if you want to make a name for yourself, you have to put yourself out there. And from day one, I've sort of felt that way. I think from when Twitter started, I was like, what a better place than just to voice my opinion on random shit. And then next thing you know, 12 years later, I have almost 20,000 followers. But I remember when I had zero, like I was an absolute dust working at NHL Network Radio. Nobody was even paying attention to my tweets, but it's all about building engagement. And I think the one thing you guys have learned now, hopping over to the dark side, is fans love to engage, whether it's with broadcasters or with former players. So that's probably the best way I would describe my time on social media. It's been a lot of fun, but I've got a lot of heat too. I'll say that.
I like your one little thing. It's just, you always just say, someone make a trade. Hey, I like that one. Like, make a trade, someone.
Dude, I got a bunch of fucking shirts that I want to make one day, just with the randomest shit that I've started on social media, dating back to John Tavares, him signing with there's just so many different things that would be absolute troll jobs on a shirt, but I think they would stick one day.
Yeah, I agree.
What would be your best one without giving away? Like,
we can help you out with that, by the way.
Yeah, like someone make a trade is like my biggest one.
Great, yeah.
Because I'm a big proponent of activity in the NHL. Like people, that's the one thing that drives me nuts. People frame me as a Leafs fan. I was growing up. I've turned into just an NHL fan, guys. Like I'll be up at 10:30 at night watching San Jose and the Islanders. Fantasy hockey, betting, like there's a variety of reasons. I just love the sport, but I just love trading. And I think, I don't want a humanized situation. You guys played in the league. It's a lot different than just your casual fan, right? Because I just want to fucking see a trade. Yeah. So that's pretty much what it's come down to. And that's why it was created, because I think there's a lack of activity in the salary cap world.
Exactly. And I was just going to say that. And you're not wrong. And you're right. When you talk to ex-players, us getting traded, we got to pick up and move our whole life. It was easy for us single guys. But to your point, there's not a lot of hockey trades anymore because of the salary cap. And some years it's fucking boring. Like, someone make a fucking trade here.
Some teams
in last place, shuffle the deck a bit.
Yeah, these GMs start playing fantasy hockey with our team
your balls to tug here. Let's go.
It becomes a little different when you get to know a young player and you see, like, does this kid have upside? Does this kid have upside? But, we got a good team this year. This is our chance. Let's fucking shuffle him in for a veteran that can help. I mean, so much goes into it where fantasy, you're just like, fuck, my team sucks here. Take all my guys.
I can't even make a trade in fucking NFL fantasy here. The Updog won't trade with me. Cody won't trade. No one will trade with me. Muzzy, I don't know what the fuck to do.
Dude, a bunch of my buddies play with me in fantasy hockey, and I understand it's become sort of an expertise of mine over the years. Like, I've always had a passion for it. They're impossible to deal with because they want the moon and they don't want me to rip them off. So I totally understand, and I'm sure when you guys try to deal together, it's the same shit, right?
Well, you would think as, lifelong buddies for 15 years of business partners, you think we'd be able to get a Kyler Murray as backup quarterback, but he won't even give me his backup quarterback.
It's a little early. I'm keeping him as bait. And as you know, fantasy, it's like the depth of your lineup, man. At some point, some guys fucking starting quarterbacks going down. I'm going to need a wide receiver. It's just it wasn't right now. It's not a good time. I told you.
Shady, bro. Let's get into the Islanders. We'll give you a chance to rip cons here, get back at Connolly, our boy. But Barzel deal, something me and Updog touched on today on the pod. I was kind of shocked that he signed that extension already. What do you think about it?
It's funny. Just before I came on with you guys, I had Islanders fans in my mentions in my tweets, drawing the parallels to the 9.1 being in the contract, drawing similarities to the number that John Tavares wears and the former captain of the New York Islanders. It's just Islanders fans. They're trying to find a reason why this guy's going to disappointment. I'm happy for them. I think he's an unbelievable player. I just wonder in the long run, can he reach his potential in that system? We'll see if it's different under Lane Lambert. Barry Trotz is out of the mix there, but it's still the same type of ideology with the same GM and everybody in place. But I started to wonder too, like what that meant in terms of a trickle-down effect. All of a sudden, that Jack Hughes contract that everybody was chirping New Jersey for signing looks pretty damn good, if you ask me.
Said like a goddamn professional.
Yeah, no, this guy's a pro. It could be right. So, what's going on with Cons? You got something you want to say to our boy Connolly? This is your time to let him have it.
I know he fucking listens to this first and foremost. So he strolls on this podcast. What was it, like 6 months ago in the spring, and he talks about Alberga. Every time he gets bombed, he FaceTimes me. I want to set the record straight that Connolly FaceTimes me as well. I remember a specific situation. It was the bubble playoffs, the New York Islanders in the bubble in Toronto, fucking Islanders fans going nuts, JT's a Leaf, whatever. I get a FaceTime from this guy. I'm at my parents' place. Get a FaceTime from this guy. He's on the treadmill. I'm like, dude, we both, like, what are you kidding? He's like, Muzz, you think we're going to win this one today? So I just wanted to set the record straight. Yeah, I am victim just like anybody else. Who doesn't send out a couple fucking bombs late at night when you've had a couple cocktails? You're FaceTiming away a bit. Connolly does get that call sometimes, but I just wanted to reiterate that he calls me back. So I think we're friends. He doesn't want to admit it.
I like it. That's going to be a great clip.
At least he calls you back.
I will say this. I love Cons, and Cons is the victim to the drunk dial. Yes, he does like the odd FaceTime, or when he's had a few scotches at home, he does like to talk a little hockey. So,
he got rattled last time too because I was in Vegas and I was like, "Hey, you got any pull in this place? I don't want to fucking wait in line. I'm a nobody. I don't want to wait in line." I thought Connolly had some pull. Didn't work out that way.
Yeah, he's retired now. He used to have all the pull in the world, but I think he's retired when it comes to that. So, Muzzy, before we get into some fantasy stuff, me and Updog were talking about Mitch Marner on the back end. Uppy made some great points about, obviously the Leafs are banged up there. That's why Sheldon Keefe's trying it right now. But puck possession, this and that. Is there any real truth to this up there? What's going on?
I think it's a load of bullshit, guys. Like, again, I understand the story. If you're going to play somebody on D, would it not be Austin Matthews, one of the best players on the planet, as opposed to Mitch Marner? Like, I think from a defensive standpoint, I would trust Austin Matthews way more than I would trust Mitch Marner. And then on top of that, is this guy jumping in front of shots in front of the net? Like, I just don't see it from that aspect. I think reading in between the lines, what he actually meant was, let's say it's a 6-on-4 late, or it's a pivotal moment in the game. You're trying to win a hockey game. That's when you roll him out on D. I don't think he actually meant it where it's like a full game of Mitch Marner on defense. It just doesn't make much sense to me. It actually reminded me a lot of the time a couple years ago where a story filtered in the offseason where it was like, yeah, the Leafs are contemplating rolling with 3D and 2 forwards, which again made no fucking sense. It never came to fruition. So I think it's pretty much your random, preseason story because there's nothing else brewing in Leafs town. So let's talk about it. I think there's no validation to it.
You put the poor guys up there dealing with the media. I can't. I couldn't. Thank God. I often said, like, I missed out on playing in Canada because I would love to have been an NHLer in a Canadian city. But fuck, a full season of Toronto media, just be like, holy Christ.
Toronto's next level. Even to Vancouver, it's
with the teams they have and the reasons why they can't maybe win these fucking playoff series. It's like they're just dealing with bullshit all the time.
Yeah, and Austin Matthews pretending like Toronto's his home. That was just a fucking lie, too. He's out of there, Muzzy. He's out of there.
You think so?
I think he's out of there in 2 years.
Yeah?
We think L.A., and then if Arizona gets a new barn, maybe there. But we think L.A. That's what we think.
I understand it's going to be a conversation till if or not he signs on that dotted line next summer. I just think, why wouldn't you want to be in this market? Like, he is everything. Everybody fucking loves him.
Told you why.
He gets paid all the money. He gets endorsements. I understand LA. I understand Arizona to an extent, maybe New York and the Rangers. I just don't see another place where Austin Matthews can just do his thing and rip goals and be a celebrity the way he can here.
LA, Hollywood, his boy Bieber.
Dude, nobody's going to give a fuck who Austin Matthews is there. You think they are?
I mean, when he shows up to these parties with his little satchel that he has on, with Bieber on his fucking, they would care.
So let me ask you that. Do you think he cares that he's like Austin Matthews in Toronto? Like,
yes.
Or like he's still sitting front row at every UFC match. Like,
he's bigger than Toronto. I see what you're saying, but he's bigger than Toronto.
Yeah, like he is bigger.
Yeah.
His
no,
name
he walks
carries,
around. Like, I love his confidence, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I think the next move, logically, if you're going to give him that extension, you got to give him the C. I thought it was going to happen this summer. It hasn't happened. And again, this has to be incumbent, I think, on John Tavares to realize that, to hand it over. I don't even know if it's been a conversation, but that's probably my next step in this whole process is saying, hey, Austin, you're our everything. You mean everything to us. Here's the C. That's what I would do.
Here's the C and $15 million a year.
Exactly. Here's an endorsement. I don't know, fucking Durex or something.
If Toronto can afford to fit that somewhere in their cap, I don't know how they can, but if you can afford the 15 bananas that every other team's going to throw at them. I was going to
say that they'd rather John Tavares just say, hey, I'm going on long-term IR. Here's the captaincy and take my money off the books. Then they got something. Then they got something cooking.
Hey, JT gets ripped a lot, guys. I think it takes a special person to be a captain in this market. You guys just mentioned the hoopla surrounding this team every day. Just imagine being the fucking captain. Yeah. I think he's a good shill for Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Riley. So I'm going to give John Tavares credit. I know his game has fallen off, but whose game doesn't fall off at this age, given, the track record and the resume and the longevity in his career? I think he's going to be okay, and speed's never been his game. So I would watch out for JT this year. Bounce back season.
No, everything you're saying is right for about $7 million a year, not fucking 11 that he's making. I mean,
but is that his fault though?
No, it's not his fault. And listen, we talk about guys getting paid here, and we want every guy to make as much as they can because we know more than anyone when it's over, it's over. And I'm happy he's making that money. But if you're looking at it from the perspective of Kyle Dubas and Shanny and the Leafs, they're fucking in one because he's making 11. Yeah. And there's no way around it. You can say what you want about him as a leader, the way he handles the media. I'm sure he's a great guy. But that's why they're in the position they are and why they may lose Austin Matthews, in my opinion.
But Obes, that's a bigger conversation. That ain't on John Tavares. That's on We Can and We Will, Kyle Dubas, the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? And his famous quote. Again, this is a big season for everybody involved, and I'm not chirping them. I know. It's a tough job to do this. It's a tough job to be a GM in this league, and now the proof will be in the pudding. If they can't get the job done this year, if they can't win their first series in 18 fucking years, I can't believe that, haven't won a Stanley Cup in 54, there's going to be some changes, and I think with that, it'll probably be one of the big four that heads out, maybe, Marner or a Nylander for that matter.
I mean, they're eventually going to win a series. It's just a matter of time when you got the best player on the planet. They're going to win. But I thought Dubas was going to get fired 2 years ago. So what do I know, Muzzy? But we'll have you back on throughout the year to talk some Leafs. Let's talk some fantasy real quick. You did a great job. I saw you on there with our girl Jackie, like I said. Yeah. Maybe just give our listeners, whatever you're thinking, some good guys, what stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm doing a bunch of stuff once again this year. I just signed a deal with the Nation Network, so I'll be covering the Maple Leafs for the Leafs Nation and doing some fantasy work for Daily Faceoff. And with that, I'll be providing sort of weekly mailbags, some guys to pick up. Also, co-host of the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. So with that, I know a lot of people are doing their drafts right now. I think for sleeper value, you look at guys like Jacob Vrana in that top six with Detroit. 21 goals in 37 total games with the Red Wings. I think there's a lot of value in a player like that. Alex Tuck, we just talked about Vegas, now goes to Buffalo, can finally be a top six player. Played 50 games last year with the Sabres at 12 goals, 38 points, a 62-point pace. Tyler Toffoli is another guy who I think could have a massive season playing on that top line for the Calgary Flames. I think you want to talk about bounce back candidates. We talked about a couple earlier. I'm really feeling Winnipeg, maybe contrary to other people in this world and in this country. I like Connor Hellebuck to bounce back. Mark Scheifele. I mentioned Dougie Hamilton already. Jacob Chychrun, guys, is a name to watch for in the next couple of weeks as he finally get fucking out of the desert. We'll see. I'd want to play a couple games of that Mullet Arena first before getting before getting sent out there. And the rookie watch is another thing I would look at. Matty Beniers, I think he's got a high point ceiling here, maybe 60 points. The guy's a really, really good player. We're going to see that right away. Talked about Logan Thompson and Mason McTavish with the Anaheim Ducks. It's really, really shaping up to be the first true year back, if that makes sense. And that excites me, right? Like, enough of this COVID shit. We can get on with life a bit.
I love that Mason McTavish pick, bro. I don't think they should have sent him back last year. It worked out well. He had went to the Memorial Cup. Obviously, we know he did with the World Juniors, but that kid's a stud, man. I think he's going to have a big year. I want to ask you about a guy, Patrick Laine. I think this guy's going to have a monster year with Johnny Hockey. A list I'm looking at, they got him down here 79th. I don't know.
Whose list is that?
I don't know who's. It's just on the NHL. I don't know. It's not your
Okay,
list.
that's NHL.com. Yeah.
Yeah. NHL.com. I mean, this guy. You think he's gonna have a monster year?
So shout out to Pete Jensen, my co-host of the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. Subscribe and listen, please.
All right.
Humble plug. As for Line, I'm sort of lukewarm on Columbus. Like Johnny Gaudreau goes home. Last time I checked, he's not from Columbus, but good on him. I hope he has a great time there. Very underrated city to party. You guys know this. I fucking love Columbus. Dave Pagnotta, good friend of the podcast, would attest to that. We've had some good rips there. I just don't know if it's Columbus's time. I do not know if it's Columbus's time. With all due respect to Boone Jenner, he is not Elias Lindholm, so he's likely to center that line. Maybe it's Cole Sillinger down the road. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe they pick somebody up. But I think without a pivot like that, I think your game changes substantially. And from the Line point of view, I'm fading him. I just can't get married to that file because he's a guy who's really, really let me down in the past. And he really, really struggles with consistency issues. So until he can prove day in and day out that he's going to snipe every second game or every game or something along those lines, be the Liney that we saw early on with Winnipeg, I'm probably fading when it comes to drafting him that early at least.
Wow. I love him. I'm buying his stock. I think he's going to have a monster fucking year.
You just like the way he dresses.
I mean, listen, he's
hair.
just like fucking, he's out there. He's just a crazy Finnish bastard that can fucking rip it. And I think with Johnny Hockey throwing backhand sauce, it's going to be one-time city. I don't know. I think Columbus is going to be a good squad too. So I think it's all going to go hand in hand. And another guy I wanted to ask you about, friend of the pod. He's up in Cowtown driving a Dodge. Mackenzie Weegar. I just think like Weegsy baby, he's down on the list here. I don't know. I think he's going to get lots of opportunity there. I think he's a good guy. And let me ask you, block shots, hits, all the same, or what? How does it work? I don't even know. I don't do NHL fantasy. I apologize.
Yeah, you're a bit of a newbie. I get
it.
It depends on the league format and the settings. Every commissioner is different how they want to run their fantasy league. I think much similar, I would say, to fantasy football. Anybody out there who plays fantasy football, I think Mackenzie Weegar is an attractive name going into this season. We'll see. There's a week left. I think an extension could be coming. Maybe you guys know a bit more. They're working really, really hard. I just love the fact that Calgary went out there, said, hey, this is the player we want in that deal. They got him. I think he's a really, really good fit in that market. And the one thing I'm looking at is Aaron Ekblad predominantly ran PP1 with the Panthers. Now is the chance for Weegar to be that guy running the first power play unit, the attachment of Elias Lindholm, to guys like Kadri, to guys like Jonathan Huberdeau. There's a lot of talent and a lot of guys who can produce offense. And I think if Weegar is put in that position to succeed, I think he's really going to bust loose offensively because, again, he's been a bit restricted the last couple of years with Aaron Ekblad. But from an even strength point of view, people don't know this either. He's one of the better point producers, even strength in the league. So Mackenzie Weegar, very, very underrated. I think it was more so because of the market he played and he didn't get much play up.
Yeah,
take the
Weegsy
He's a good
baby.
kid, yeah.
Take the Weegsy baby. I would take it if I was playing fantasy.
Fuck, he skates well. He keeps it simple.
He looks good in that uniform too. He's been just posting pics with his bucket off all training camp. I love it. He's got the swag. So, Muzzy, you're a beauty, buddy. We got to get you back on again. We'll talk some more Leafs and everything with you. But you're good for the game. Keep the Twitter humming, buddy, and we appreciate having you on, Mr. Curfew.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. And Updog, this brings peace to my heart because years back at the BioSteel camp, you kept dodging us. We were trying to get Updog on the fucking pod, and he kept going on the back door. We were trying to get him on NHL Network Radio. We're like, where's up? Couldn't find the guy. I was already at the bar.
I was sneaking out to lunch. Hey, the Cactus Club. They was calling my name.
Already, buddy. He had a full. Hey, listen, he had a full schedule in Toronto. And I'm not talking about when at BioSteel camp. He had a full day afterwards.
I get it. You are forgiven. Thanks so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, thanks, brother. Up, dog.
Fella.
Little fantasy talk there.
Muzzy.
I would draft Mackenzie Weegar.
You might have to, but you might get him at a little disky.
And I would draft Patrick Laine for people out there that listen. I think he's going to have a monster season.
I don't know how you do that in Columbus.
He loved Columbus. I was like, Updog doesn't
I
like
know,
Columbus.
but like, yeah, what do you know if you love Columbus? Like, what do you really know?
You should have said that. Hey, Muzzy, what do you really know? And he chirped Connolly. He came in guns a-blazing here at Mr.
Sure
Curfew.
did.
Came in guns
It was
a-blazing.
nice to have him. It's nice to have a guy like an insider. We get a couple insiders show up on our
Yeah.
show. He was good.
Yeah, he's tight
fantasy
with,
sports
He's
insider.
tight with David and the boys at fourth period too. He's
Love
a good
it.
kid. He's up and coming. Great on Twitter. Knows his fantasy. So check his shit out. Updog, we got next week, buddy. We got some hockey. But we got some European games that are already going to be played, and we're going to go through. We kind of did a little bit there with the Muzzy because he was going rogue. He just was going buck diddy, talking about Vegas and this and that. But we're going to go through every team, every conference, pick our teams in and out like we did last year.
Yeah, straight up.
Straight up. We'll
Get
see
the
what's up.
Get the fucking calendar out, see where the teams are playing.
It's time
Let's
to make
go.
some bets, baby.
I love it.
I haven't made a bet with you in a long time.
Get the DraftKings account rocking
Let's make some
again.
bets.
Put some fucking G notes in there and
Get
let's
some
roll.
Camus flowing. So, thanks to the Golden Muzzy, Updog. Thanks to you as always, Maxi, Binger, Hall Pass Media. Love you. That was Missin Curfew.